Hi, everyone. I'm happy to announce that my new book, The Audacity of Freedom, A Journey of Spiritual Liberation, is going to be released on March 7th. You can get that on Amazon. And we have some special launch prices. The pre-order for Kindle is $3, and then the paperback you can order on March 7th for 1 week for $7. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the book, how I started writing it, and what it's about. In 2006, about 1 year after I met my last teacher, I was living in Pune, India, in a beautiful location. And I just started writing some words about my spiritual path. But I only got about 50 pages in before I got bored doing it, because at the time I had a little music studio where I was living, and I was having so much fun writing and recording songs that I just let it go. And then I didn't think about it again. But 13 years later, in 2019, I was cleaning up my computer and I found the beginnings of this text. And so I read it and I sent it to a bunch of my friends on my Lions Den community and to see what they thought. And the response was very favorable. And so in 2019, I started working on it again. And now 4 years later, after lots of work, rewriting, editing, and working with some great talented friends, the book is ready to go. So this book is, it's different from my first three books. My first three books were, they were transcribed from my conversations with people from the previous years. And those books are strictly the message that I share, the message of freedom. But this book is different. This book is a story. So I enjoy when creativity is flowing, whether it's, writing and recording music or drawing something, or designing the house that Bindu and I live in, or working with my friends on the intensives, or writing. When I started working on this book again, which is a story, I got completely engaged in trying to tell a good story. I had no idea if I could do that. But my answer for anything these days, if an idea comes, my answer is yes. Let's just see what happens. And so I did. And I had a really nice time working on it. So the book starts, in my early childhood, and the first part is about my youth and what I went through, and then how I became a rock and roll musician, and traveling around playing music, and also then my drug use, and finally the moment when I was brought to my knees. And in that moment, everything changed. And I was firmly cast on the path of spiritual seeking. And I was very one-pointed and determined the whole way. The bulk of the book is about my spiritual journey. So I speak about, the travels I undertook, the teachers and masters I met and even lived with here in India, the many amazing mystical experiences that happened along the way, and what was revealed in those experiences, which is more important. And then finally meeting my last teacher and how life has been since then. The book is not just a story, though, because within the telling of the story itself is the message of freedom. So really, this book is just a different context for sharing the message of freedom. And I hope you'll get that message while reading the book. So I thought I'd read a short excerpt from one of the chapters called Crushed by Love. As I was walking toward the food tent after this conversation, I began experiencing myself as physically enormous, literally. I saw myself as an ogre, a towering ego. I felt totally exposed and hideous, and actually had the experience that I was much taller than and looking down upon everyone I passed. I thought they were such beautiful, humble people, and I was a monster. I can't express how completely convinced of this I was. To me, it was true. I was utterly ashamed. Everyone must see this, I thought. It was excruciatingly painful to feel myself like this, so grossly self-conscious and self-loathing. And then, after just a few torturous moments of this, I could no longer hold up the weight of my self-loathing, and all of a sudden, something simply dropped away. I actually felt something physically fall from my shoulders and shoot off behind me to the left. Why to the left? I have no idea. But my head jerked around spontaneously to look behind me. It felt like the entire world had fallen off of my shoulders. I experienced an immediate release, as if, like Atlas, I had been holding the world on my shoulders, and all of a sudden it had fallen off. And in that moment, a state of consciousness began to emerge that I previously had no idea was possible or even existed. The world became virgin and new, pure, pristine, undivided, whole, and absolutely sacred. I was completely awed and totally humbled. I was brought to my knees again, but this time by love. So this is the meaning of the word sacred. I realized that I'd never had even an inkling of what that word implied before this moment. The supposed sacredness of church did not even remotely touch this. I worshiped every person I saw as if they were God, and in that moment, it was obvious they were. I loved so deeply, it was physically excruciating. I trembled with so much reverence for all things that it brought tears to my eyes. The word sacred kept striking me over and over. This was surrender. This was no ego. This was non-separation from the divine or anything else. This was utter humility, devoid of self. I was literally crushed by love. The mere thought of harming anyone or anything with my ego self caused immediate, unbearable anguish. It was beautiful, but also terrifying, completely unknown, and so delicate, like the most fragile flower easily trampled by the slightest footstep. And I knew that any hint of self or arrogance would utterly destroy it. This experience of non-duality and love lasted for about 5 days. During that time, many things were revealed and many new experiences happened. So that's a very short excerpt from one of the chapters. And there are many more stories like this, but not only these amazing divine stories, but also down in the mud stories as well, because all experiences have value if they turn you around to see what's true for yourself. So again, the book is going to be released on March 7th. You can pre-order it now on Kindle if you'd like for $3. And then on March 7th, the paperback will be available for purchase for $7 for 1 week. And after that, the prices will go back to the normal prices. I hope you enjoy the book, and thank you very much. Peace.